Let's get started with cloud-native Java applications on Kubernetes, an open-sourced hands-on workshop. Today, expose and consume a REST API built with Microprofile. Let us take a look at two microservices of our cloud-native starter sample. The two loosely coupled services exchange their data information using JSON and REST on the HTTP connection. The article service exposes a REST API endpoint. The web API microservice is a REST client which consumes the REST API to request articles information from the microservice. We use for our implementation Java with Microprofile. Let's take a short look at Microprofile. Microprofile is built to optimizing Java Enterprise for a microservices architecture and has three major layers of functionality. The bottom layer represents the help for the implementation of RESTful services. The middle layer is for writing microservices so that they can be operated and managed at scale. And the top layer contains tools to help to write observable microservices that enable us to detect and diagnose issues. Now move on to see how we used Microprofile for our implementation. Therefore, we take a simplified look at the Java code of the articles microservice. This service has to expose the REST API. We use Microprofile with JAX-RS to build the REST API. We're creating resource classes and adding appropriate annotations to create necessary web endpoints. The code of the class getArticle, you can see the annotation for the REST GET command and the path to invoke the getArticle from the articles microservice using the path get1. With OpenAPI, we define what we want to document for our REST API. We don't need to create additional YAML files for that documentation. We just annotate like API response, and based on these entries, a Swagger Explorer will be automatically created, as we can see later. The Web API microservice consumes the articles REST API. Therefore, we use in our implementation Microprofile REST client. The REST client supports a type-safe approach for invoking RESTful services over HTTP and simplifies the usage of the REST API we created with JAX-RS. Let's have a simplified view in the source code. Inside our Web API microservice implementation, we define an interface class for our articles microservice we call articles service. The REST client handles the communication between client and service. Therefore, we need to define and annotate the actions we need to perform get action on our REST resource. The implementation of these interfaces automatically generated for us when CDI is used to inject our client into a dependent class. We can see the use of the interface in the class called Article Service Data Access. Let's have a look at the running microservice. Here we see our documented get1 to get one article from the article service. In the Web API microservice, we will consume the REST API as showed in the supporting sequence diagram. You can follow the flow. What is the remaining task? Get your hands dirty, check out the workshop. All needed information is below the description. Have fun. Bye.